Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream presentation. My name is Melissa Favela, and I'm the Community Educator for Southern Caregiver Resource Center. Thank you for joining me today at this very special presentation that we are bringing to you, the Senior Caregiving Experience. And I hope this presentation is useful to you, that you're able to take notes, that you're able to be comfortable, and if you're watching later, or at different times, that it's still useful for you. Now, whether you're a senior caregiver yourself, know someone who is, or simply want to understand this journey better, I hope that this presentation can remind all of us of the strength it takes to give care at any age. So let's get started. Here are learning objectives for today. We'll learn more about the challenges caregiving seniors face, the financial burden related to this type of care, find ways to care for yourself as a senior caregiver, and of course, feel empowered to find services. So let's get started with some caregiving statistics. Now, in 2025, Caregiving in the U.S. report stated that family caregivers from the invisible backbone of American communities, that 63 million American adults provided ongoing care to adults or children with a medical condition or disability, representing almost 1/4 of all adults in the United States. This represents a dramatic increase of 45% since 2015. Of these 63 million caregivers, 59 million care for an adult with a complex medical condition or disability. Now, more than 7 million adults in California provide care to a family caregiver or friend with complex medical conditions or with disabilities. Nearly 1 in 5 adults across the state. And there are about 49,000 caregivers in San Diego County. So let's continue with some of these caregiving statistics. 3 in 4 family caregivers in California, about 75%, assist with at least one activity of daily living. And these activities of daily living are routine tasks that are essential for maintaining personal independence. Nearly all family caregivers, about 99%, help with at least one instrumental activity of daily living, such as shopping, managing finances, preparing meals, and handling transportation. Now, more than 50% of caregivers aged 65 years and older have 2 or more chronic conditions. And nearly half of family caregivers in California have experienced negative financial impact. Caregivers are at an increased risk for having multiple chronic diseases, as they may neglect their own personal health needs while providing care for others. And the CDC says that by 2035, an estimated 78 million people in the United States will be 65 years or older. More than 2/3 of the U.S. population will likely need help with tasks at some point in their lifetime. Now, all of these previous statistics are relevant and highlight the importance of the topic that we will be discussing today. Many people picture caregiving as something done for seniors and older adults, but countless seniors are the ones providing care for a spouse, a sibling, or another loved one, often while managing their own health conditions and their own aging process. So who is a senior caregiver? Someone who is 65 and older, someone who is caring for someone else. They may be caring for an older adult, and they might also be caring for a younger person. They may live near or with the care receiver, and they may manage the care of their care receivers while managing their own health and age-related changes, such as the doctor's appointments of the person they care for and their own doctor's appointments. Same thing goes with medication, food preparation, food shopping, nutritional needs, etc. And the caregiver with limited income or fixed retirement income. This is something that is also very much so entwined with the senior caregiver. Next slide, please. So here are some of the challenges that senior caregivers might face. As you see here, we have a list of challenges, and we'll start with physical demands. As I mentioned in the previous slides, the majority of caregivers assist with at least one activity of daily living and instrumental activity of daily living. So you can only imagine that physical demands in the senior caregiving experience are definitely a challenge, as caregiving often requires lifting, bathing, and assisting with mobility, while these senior caregivers manage their own aging body and mobility issues they may have. Social isolation. Many seniors look forward to their retirement and golden years to relax, travel, pursue hobbies and social interactions. However, senior caregivers often have reduced time for friendships, hobbies, and community involvement. Health neglect. This particular point is not specific to seniors necessarily. This is applicable to all family caregivers, but this refers to postponing medical appointments and self-care needs. And these are unfortunately extremely common for caregivers of all ages, as I mentioned. However, you can imagine that caregiving seniors who are living with their own health conditions can have greater health-related risks and decline in their own health if they do not attend their healthcare appointments or don't prioritize their own health conditions. We also have emotional exhaustion. Again, this particular point is not specific to caregiving seniors, but it is still very important as we see grief, fear of what will happen if they or their loved one passes, guilt for not doing enough or feeling like they don't do enough, and the emotional weight of watching a loved one decline. We also see sleep deprivation. Nighttime caregiving disrupts rest. This compounds health challenges and possibly exacerbates pre-existing health conditions. And we also have lack of training. Navigating complex medical and care needs without formal preparation, in addition to being overwhelmed with responsibility of managing the health of a loved one at this stage in life. Now, we will also talk a little bit about the financial burden of caregiving. Now, some common financial costs include prescription medications and medical supplies, which could include copays and durable medical equipment such as wheelchairs, medical beds, any other equipment that is needed. We also find that home modifications such as grab bars, ramps, lifts, transportation to appointments. If the senior caregiver does not drive or doesn't feel comfortable transporting their loved one to their medical appointments via their own vehicle, they might have to ask for favors, reach out to their medical insurance, or pay out of pocket. Also, hiring home health aides or respite workers. If the senior caregiver is overwhelmed or isn't able to satisfy all caregiving needs of their loved one. We also have adult day programs or memory care. Many seniors continue to work. They may need to place their loved one in an adult daycare program. Or maybe if their loved one is beyond their care, they might need to look into memory care programs in housing. So as you can imagine, this is not a complete list, but these are some of those financial burdens that senior caregivers face. Now, when we talk about financial challenges, we can also talk about financial relief options. Now, we can consider if there is a veteran amongst the caregiver or care receiver, they can contact veteran caregiver benefits at the VA caregiver support. And again, this can be from either the caregiver or care receiver side. Tax deductions can be tricky to navigate, but can be beneficial for senior caregivers. So let's make sure that that is something that as a senior caregiver, you're also looking into. You can also go through state-funded caregiver stipend programs like IHSS, and this might apply to you. You can find out more information, but this might provide some sort of income while you're caring for someone. And life insurance or long-term care insurance, depending on the policy, this can provide financial relief or assistance in certain expenses. So make sure to ask your agent or check your insurance policy. And of course, local community foundation grants. Other nonprofits that can support us with services such as home modifications, transportation, and other services at very low cost or sometimes even for free. So what if? So what happens when we start having some of these fears when it comes to caregiving, right? What happens if I all of a sudden become ill and I have this fear of abandoning a dependent loved one? What if I have anxiety because I don't have a backup caregiver plan for whatever constraints may be present, right? Whether it be a financial anxiety or a lack of support, but these are real fears. Also, what if I have guilt when I'm prioritizing my personal health versus my care receiver's health? Well, this is something to consider. And again, this is something that a lot of caregivers go through, but it is important to consider your own health and prioritize your own health because that will directly impact the type of care and quality you provide to your care receiver. Also, what if I worry about financial collapse if incapacitated? What if I become incapacitated? Well, again, this goes along with having a caregiver plan. And also, something that happens very often is that isolation from friends who could support a senior caregiver. So make sure that you are communicating with those friends, with those supports, so that way you feel like you have support and your loved one also has support. And reluctance to disclose health concerns to family, friends, or community. Of course, this is something that we see with senior caregivers trying to be very private about what's going on in their situation, which is valid. It's very valid, but also keep in mind, if you find yourself in the situation that if you don't share with those that are close to you, whether it be family, friends, your church community, your YMCA friends, all these things, if you don't share, they won't be able to help you, right? And so maybe by opening up a little bit with some people that are close to you might be very beneficial in easing your anxiety and your stress. And that way you know that there is someone there to support you and possibly your loved one if something happens. Now that we're talking about grief and guilt, right? This is very normal with caregiving, but when we're talking about senior caregivers, it kind of goes into a different niche, if you will, because they can have this idea of what retirement life is going to look like, what their golden years are going to look like, and they're not living the retirement they envisioned. Maybe they're feeling guilt for not doing enough. They're grieving their own declining strength or health while still providing care. And there's that change in relationships, especially if they're caring for someone who has a cognitive impairment, such as a type of dementia, Alzheimer's. So there is a lot of grief and guilt associated with this type of caregiving. They are losing the person that they knew while losing their own independence. And so this is experiencing many levels of grief. And they may also be grieving the change in the relationship, not just the loss of the person in a cognitive level, but the change in the relationship. For example, one spouse caring for another. And of course, this can cause many different types of grief and a deep sense of loneliness. And that's why many senior caregivers may feel that they're not allowed to be tired or ask for help because that's just what you do for someone else. That's just what you do at an older age. You need to deal with getting older. But all caregivers deserve to receive help and feel empowered to ask for help. Now, planning ahead can help with peace of mind. We've kind of been touching upon this slowly, But something that you can do is create a written emergency care plan for your loved one. You can complete this plan with the help of their healthcare team and trusted family members. Be as specific as possible and have as much information in it as possible. Identify and train a backup caregiver and discuss care arrangements with family proactively. In case the main caregiver becomes injured or suffers a deterioration in health themselves, discuss caregiving arrangements to avoid issues in your own health. Complete advanced healthcare directives and end-of-life decisions for yourself. Many times, being a caregiver puts things in perspective for what they need in order to have a plan of care or to avoid burdening others with difficult situations when they are not able or capable of caring for themselves. Also, connect with a social worker to identify resources. Here at Southern Caregiver Resource Center, you can connect with a state licensed social worker to help identify supports for you as a caregiver. And finally, attend to your own health. It is not selfish, it is essential. And if you don't do it, no one else will do it for you. Now, caring for yourself as a senior family caregiver can bring about its own challenges. And on the next slide, we'll explore some of the recommendations that might help you be a caregiver who is well-rounded, doesn't neglect themselves, and continues caregiving to the best of their abilities. Now, here we have three main areas. We have physical area, emotional area, and practical area. And again, the things that we're going to suggest here are by no means a complete list, but it is a place to start or to consider or to maybe revisit if you have already started thinking about these things, right? So how can I care for myself in a physical aspect, in an emotional aspect, in a practical aspect? So let's start with physical. Make sure that you schedule and keep your own medical appointments. I know we've discussed this point many, many times already. We've mentioned it over and over. That is because your physical state, your physical health will determine the level of care that you are able to provide, not just for yourself, but for someone else. Try to prioritize at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep whenever possible. And if possible, stay active. Even short walks reduce caregiver stress. Make sure that if you can be active, find a group, something that's close to you, something that is realistic. And again, start small. Start with small goals when it comes to your physical management or physical wellness. Now, emotional aspects, something that you can do is join a caregiver support group. Maybe if you are still thinking about sharing this caregiving journey with others, or sometimes it's a little challenging to go up to someone and just tell them your situation, a support group can be an excellent place to feel safe talking about these challenges. Why? Because everybody else in that caregiver support group is going through something similar. So you will be sharing as much as you want, but you will be sharing in a space where you have that understanding. Others can see what you're going through. Maybe they've already been through it. Maybe they're learning from your experience. So it's a very safe space if you're still ambivalent about sharing your situation with others. Also, another place to have that emotional wellness is to allow yourself to grieve and feel without judgment. Sometimes with caregiving, you just have to go and focus and be practical and put things aside, put those emotional things aside. But when it comes to your emotional well-being, sometimes what we have to do is feel. And we can feel and acknowledge the feeling, and we don't have to stay there. We don't have to stay with the grief, but we do have to experience it at some point. It doesn't serve you to just ignore it or pretend it's not there when we know it's there. So that can also be a low stakes emotional practice if you want to do it, and it can be done privately or with someone you trust. And of course, seek individual counseling or therapy. Nobody was necessarily trained as a caregiver. Nobody knows everything about caregiving. It can be very challenging, it can be lonely, it can be stressful, but it can also have a lot of positives. So if this is something that you are feeling challenged with, or if you're not ready to join a support group, having that one-on-one with a counselor can really help you move forward and not get stuck in those difficult emotional aspects of caregiving. And lastly, we have practical, right? A lot of times we think we're the only ones who have ever done caregiving or offered care to someone else, but make sure that you learn to delegate, that you learn to ask for help, that you learn to accept help from others. They may not help the way that you would be doing the things, but that doesn't mean that it isn't helpful. So it does help to delegate very specific tasks. It does help to be very specific when asking for help. And it does help to stay with I statements. I need your help with X, Y, or Z. Try to be as specific as possible. And if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, try again, be flexible, and really try to get support from others, even when it comes to tasks. Now, if it's a possibility, use respite care to take planned breaks whenever possible. We know that this may not be as possible or as often as we'd like, but if it's a possibility, please use respite care to make sure that you also get some rest and some breaks. And of course, set clear boundaries on what you can and cannot do. And this is sometimes very challenging to do. Sometimes it takes practice, and you can start with small boundaries, but it is something that will be very beneficial in the long run, because caregiver burnout is real. So again, these are just some very practical, actionable items that you can do to support your own well-being, to care for yourself as a caregiver. Next slide, please. Now, accessing services. We mentioned that it is as important to know and care for yourself as it is to know where to seek support. It is important to know your rights to resources and services as a caregiver. Make sure to check out our other videos on Caregivers Bills of Right or Caregiving Corner series. This can be very beneficial, but make sure that you know that there are services and agencies out there available to help, such as area agencies on aging. In San Diego, we have the Aging and Independent Services, and they can, you can talk to someone, they can offer free local referrals, so they're a great starting point for broader resources. You can also, if you have Medicare, Medi-Cal, they can also cover some in-home care services. And of course, Southern Caregiver Resource Centers, free supportive services, and the 211 helpline. Again, this is specific to San Diego County, connects you to local social services. So if you dial 211 or go into the 211 website, you can find a lot of supportive services as well. And the CalFresh SNAP program for that food assistance. So again, this is by no means a complete list, but with these starting services, you are able to reach other supportive services for you and your care receiver. Now, being your own advocate. Now, it's important to write down your needs and your care receiver's needs before appointments. It is important to prep for your care receiver's appointment by writing down what needs to be discussed with the healthcare professional. It's important to mention that you're involved as a family caregiver, what that involvement is. Mention it to their provider and, of course, to your provider as well. This will give the providers more information to consider and to better help you and your care receiver. Now, I mentioned it before as well. Connect with social workers. caregivers. Connect with them at your healthcare centers for additional support. As caregivers, we may not always recognize the burden that we carry, and it's important to always connect with services and resources available to you as a caregiver or to your loved one as a care receiver. As seniors, you may also qualify for additional services, screenings, and other benefits by connecting with a social worker. Build a care team. Again, this is something that we've been talking about throughout the presentation. When building a care team, it's important to be creative and really think outside the box. Traditionally, we may only want to involve direct family, like children or adult grandchildren, but it's important to also think of professionals as part of the care team. It can include doctors, specialists, therapists, social workers, and many, many more people. So make sure to seek support for yourself. Have your own care team, and also make sure that you are working on your care receiver's health team. It's very important to make sure that you can also have something come up, whether it's a health concern. So then you would also need a support team, a care team for yourself. So make sure that you identify those two different teams and then also see where they overlap. Maybe there is an overlap between your care team and your care receiver's care team. And of course, make sure to connect with us with Southern Caregiver Resource Center. We are here for caregivers, by caregivers. We can connect you to resources, services, and supports. So if this is the first time that you're considering that you might be a caregiver, feel free to reach out to us. Now, some things to remember. The next points are things to remember as a senior caregiver or as a person who knows a senior caregiver. Senior caregivers face profound physical, emotional, and social challenges that deserve support and recognition. Caring for yourself is not optional. Your health is inseparable from the time and quality of care you are able to provide. Services and support exist. Empower yourself to ask and access what you and your care receiver needs. And the financial toll is real. Try to prepare and explore relief programs. And plan for the unexpected. A backup plan can help relieve you of anxiety and support your care receiver in case you are unable to. Now, as I mentioned, make sure that if this is connecting with you, if this is providing you with information and you'd like to learn more about free supportive services, make sure to reach out to Southern Caregiver Resource Center. As you see here in this small square, we do offer a variety of services. You are connected to a family consultant when you connect with us, and they are able to talk you through your caregiving situation, make a personalized care plan for yourself as the caregiver, and then connect you to resources that you may need in this place and moment that you are in your caregiving journey. Now, some of the services that they can connect you to within Southern Caregiver Resource Center are support groups. And as I mentioned, they're an excellent way to find that peer-to-peer emotional support. We can also connect you to individual counseling sessions, which again, it's part of our emotional support and a great way to figure out our caregiving situation and avoid caregiver burnout. Our support groups and individual counseling sessions are available in English and Spanish, in person or virtual. We can also offer 1 hour of legal and financial consultation. And this is where anything related to caregiving, legal aspects or caregiving financial aspects can be discussed with a legal or financial professional. We also offer respite. Our respite is free, but it is needs-based. It's very case by case and it is limited. So if this is something that you think you could benefit from, sporadically, feel free to reach out to us. And of course, we have a lot of free education and training. If you're logged in right now watching this presentation, we do have a lot of other presentations that are available to you at your fingertips. They already exist. And of course, we every month, we always have a new topic that we talk about. So make sure to check out our iCare portal, where besides presentations, you can also listen to our Let's Talk Caregiving podcast, where we invite different professionals from different areas, and of course, always related to caregiving, and many, many other things and activities such as workshops that we have throughout the community. And also to let you know, we are a part of the guide program. So if you would like to learn more or see if this is something that you can use for your care receiver, make sure to reach out to us. And expanding a little bit more on our iCare portal, which I mentioned, you can find really short, quick tip videos called Caregiver Corner. You can listen to our podcast episodes, and you can, again, watch a lot of pre-recorded family caregiver classes and also sign up for future classes. And you can also sign up to our digital news. As we're always active in the community. Next slide, please. And we also have our CareNav. This is where you can receive the support that you need. And CareNav is an online platform. It is free. There is no charge to create an account or access any resources. And it's available to you anytime at the tip of your hands. You can receive customized support. So it does link to SCRC, and you can have that customized information. And of course, it can allow you to connect with local resources and services in your area. And it is a secure online caregiver platform. So it is secure, private, HIPAA compliant storage of your information. So if you're interested in learning more about CareNav, give us a call. Next slide, please. And of course, to remind you before I leave you today is that similar to when you fly, with caregiving, you have to take care of yourself first so that you can take care of another person. So it's just like when you fly. If there's an emergency, pull down the oxygen mask, place it on yourself first, and then place it with that person who can do it on their own. So just a little visual reminder to make sure that you are caring for yourself as a caregiver. Next slide, please. And make sure to follow us on our social network. If you're active, you can scan that QR code and connect with us in any of the above platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Pinterest. Next slide. And if you want to connect with us, you can do so by logging on to www.caregivercenter.org or give us a call toll free at 800-827-1008 or 858-268-4432. We're available to answer your phone call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. If by any reason we don't answer, feel free to leave a message or send us a message through our website, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And with this, I'd like to thank you for your time and look forward to the next one. Thank you so much and take care.